chat. Hi, I'm coming. Trust. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm gonna finish just one more thing and then we're gonna get started here in just a moment. Thank you guys for being patient, but hello everyone. have the ominous music playing in almost complete silence. Yeah. Try to set the mood. I'm so fucking scared. Oh my goodness. Alright, let me say hello to everybody. Hi guys. Alright, let's see. Hello Cheddar, hello Butterduck, hello Gizzy. And yes, you should absolutely go get, you should go get your book if you have it, if you have this book. Dude, I'm so excited. The music is spooky. Yes. I have specifically, like, part of why I'm late is because I waited, or all day I've been just working on trying to, like, set up the stream stuff. Because I, like, last minute kind of decided I was committing to this and that this was going to be today's stream. So I made, like, that graphic. I made everything, from scratch, basically, today. You guys will notice that some of the redeems have been turned off. Those are the ones I'm just deeming to be, like, way too disruptive for what we're doing today. Some of the sound alerts I'll let be on. Thank you. It looks good. Thank you. But, you know, let's be mindful of using them too much because we don't want to, like, you know, interrupt the story too much. So, obviously, some of the more annoying ones, like Doey and Wugginit and a couple other ones that have been turned off. But, yeah. So today's gonna stream, I'm assuming there won't be too many people here, and that's a-okay by me. It's gonna be a very, very, very calm stream. But I think it'll be fun. It'll be nice. A nice little change of pace, you know what I mean? So yeah, we're gonna be reading Silver Eyes. I'm gonna be reading it out loud. I'll show you guys in a minute. I do have a physical copy of the book, which, is great. I have physical copies for all these books I'm reading, so I have already, like, physically purchased a copy of these books that we are reading on stream. That being said, I do have, I am gonna be reading it on a screen, so you guys, one, so you guys can see it, and two, because, I'll show you guys the book in a second, but I may have accidentally damaged the book. I might have to replace it. But yeah, it'll be a nice little stream, I think, today. So if you want to read along, highly recommend it, or if you want to just have this on in the background while you're doing other stuff, that is also fine by me. It is just meant to be a nice, calming enough stream. Obviously, it's gonna be a little spooky because we're reading Five Nights at Freddy's, but yeah. I think this will be a nice little, like, weekly thing to kind of do. Something different, something calm, especially after last night's stream. It was very, very chaotic. So, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over. We'll do my face reveal. I literally was working on stuff till the last second, so I had to... The reason my stream is, like, 10 minutes late to start or whatever, basically, is because I was like, oh my god, I need to get changed. I need to, like, just get cleaned up a little bit before I start stream. Because I was a whole mess, because I've just been working on this pretty much since I got up today. So, yeah. But if y'all are ready, we're gonna get started. There we go. Here you go, you guys can have your little face cam. Hello. Here I am. Nothing too crazy today. Ready like Freddy. Hell yeah. So, I'm gonna zoom in on my face cam just real quick so you guys can kind of get an idea of it. Oh, hang on. Let me close the book for 1 sec. First off, I also need to do this. Nope, not that. Not that. There we go. Dude, if I could have like a nice little like orange light of some kind back here, like a nice little mood light. Have this up in the background, likely end up lurking for a good while. Yeah, that's kind of like, I feel like that's gonna be kind of the general mood vibe for the stream. Here's my book. It was in pristine condition, and then my dumbass brought it out for some reason, and I spilled soda all over it, so you can see there's damage to the pages, so I need to replace it at some point with a not damaged copy. But I have read this book fully already. I already know how this goes. I've read, out of the trilogy, of the original trilogy, I've read 1, 2, and then most of 3. So, yeah. But I'm pretty sure I spilled soda all over it. Yeah, look at the pages. It's so sad. So yeah, I'll have to get a replacement eventually, but for now, I do have it. Trust. And yeah. Let me get everything pulled back up. You can make face cam a little bit bigger than that. And then book. Actually, this can go here. Yeah. That works. Cool. I'm gonna make this a little tiny bit smaller. And there we go. We've got some nice ambiance in the background as well. Let me know if it's too loud. I can hear it on my end, but it's also so hard for me to tell. Alright, see you later, Chris. Thank you for stopping by. So yeah. Alright. I don't even really know where to put this. So part of my plan for this is that I want to be able to have, I want to actually have read all of the FNAF books that I bought. And I also really enjoyed some of the stories. They are a little spooky. So I'm excited to read more of them. Let me pull up chat off to the side here. Maybe, maybe not. There we go. Alright. I got my pepper, so I'll be not so dry throat, mayhaps. Yeah, this one's really good. The third book does get a little odd, I will say. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, which is part of why I stopped reading it. I was reading... I have not read the Fazbear Fright series. I've heard really good things about a good portion of the stories. Questionable things about some of them, and we will be reading all of them. Because I really want to, and you know what, I've already paid for all the books, so I might as well actually put in the effort to read them. Okay, yeah. That is exactly why we have sound alerts very limited today. Hi, Bendror. So yeah. Oh, but I was reading, what was it? The ones that are, not Fazbear Frights. Well, oh, they're like Fazbear Frights. Tales from the Pizzaplex. Those ones I was reading, and there was like 1 or 2 stories in there that actually have stuck with me so much. They like kind of freak me out to this day. So, yeah, I'm excited to read more of, some of that. Keep in mind, it's not like these are like the best written books ever, but we all know that. We're Five Nights at Freddy's fans. We know how the writing goes. Yeah. Alright, we ready? Alright. Let's get going then. The Silver Eyes by Scott Cawthon and Kira Breed-Wrisley. My screen is so freaking bright, dude. Let me see if I can turn the brightness down on my monitor just a smidge. It is so freaking bright. I also have the first movie novel. I don't have the second movie novel. I have heard interesting things about the movie novel, though. I don't know if I want it. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's better. That's better. Alright. Okay, now get out of here. Okay. How do I get this off? Does it go away on its own? There we go. Okay. Chapter 1. He sees me. Charlie dropped to her hands and knees. She was wedged behind a row of arcade games, cramped in the crawl space between the consoles and the wall, tangled in electrical cords and useless plugs strewn beneath her. She was cornered. The only way out was past the thing. She wasn't fast enough to make it. She could see him stalking back and forth, catching flickers of movement through the gaps between the games. There was scarcely enough room to move, but she tried to crawl backward. Her foot caught on a cord. She stopped, contorting herself to carefully dislodge it. She heard the clash of metal on metal, and the farthest console rocked back against the wall. He hit it again, shattering the display, then attacked the next, crashing against them almost rhythmically, tearing through the machinery, coming closer. I have to get out. I have to. The panic thought was of no help. There was no way out. Her arm ached, and she wanted to sob aloud. Blood soaked through the tattered bandage, and it seemed as though she could feel it draining out of her. The console a few feet away crashed against the wall, and Charlie flinched. He was getting closer. She could hear the grinding of gears and the clicking of servos, ever louder. Eyes closed, she could still see the way he looked at her, see the matted fur and the exposed metal beneath the synthetic flesh. I'll have to move to YouTube just so I don't get ads, so I can listen. Okay, sounds good, Gizzy. Suddenly, the console in front of her was wrenched away. It toppled over, thrown down like a toy. The power cords beneath her hands and knees were yanked away, and Charlie slipped, almost falling. She caught herself and looked up just in time to see the downward swing of a hook. Welcome to Hurricane, Utah. Charlie smiled wryly at the sign and kept driving. The world didn't look any different from one side of the sign to the other, but she felt a nervous anticipation as she passed it. She didn't recognize anything. Then again, she hadn't really expected to, not this far at the edge of town where it was all highway and empty space. She wondered what the others would look like, who they were now. 10 years ago, they'd been best friends. And then it happened, and everything ended, at least for Charlie. She hadn't seen any of them since she was 7 years old. They had written all the time as kids, especially Marla, who wrote like she had talked, fast and incoherent. But as they got older, they had grown apart, the letters had grown fewer and further between, and the conversations leading up to this trip had been perfunctory and full of awkward pauses. Charlie repeated their names as though to reassure herself that she still remembered them. Marla, Jessica, Lamar, Carlton, John, and Michael. Michael was the reason for this trip, after all. It was 10 years since he died, 10 years since it happened, and now his parents wanted them all together for the dedication ceremony. They wanted all his old friends there when they announced the scholarship they were creating in his name. Charlie knew it was a good thing to do, but the gathering still felt slightly macabre. She shivered and turned down the air conditioning, even though she knew it was not the cold. As she drove into the town center, Charlie began to recognize things. A few stores and the movie theater, which was now advertising the summer's blockbuster hit. She felt a brief moment of surprise, then smiled at herself. What did you expect? That the whole world would be unchanged? A monument to the moment of your departure, frozen forever in July 1985? Well, that was exactly what she had expected. She looked at her watch. Still a few hours to kill before they all met up. She thought about going to the movie, but she knew what she really wanted to do. Charlie made a left turn and headed out of town. Let me make sure I'm recording this just in case. Hehe, hi Gizzy. There's no dead dog dedications? I don't know. Oh my god. Sorry. Yeah, Giz talking to me about Nitobe. Again. 10 minutes later, she pulled to a stop and got out. The house loomed up before her, its dark outline a wound in the bright blue sky. Charlie leaned back against the car, slightly dizzy. She took a moment to steady herself. With deep breaths. She had known it would be here. An illicit look through her aunt's bank books a few years ago. An illicit look through her aunt's bank books a few years before had told her that the mortgage was paid off and that Aunt Jen was still paying property taxes. It had only been 10 years. There was no reason it should have changed at all. Charlie climbed the steps slowly, taking in the peeling paint. The third stair still had a loose board, and the rose bushes had taken over one side of the porch, their thorns biting hungrily into the wood. The door was locked, but Charlie still had her key. She had never actually used it. As she took it from around her neck and slid it into the lock, she remembered her father putting its chain around her neck. In case you ever need it. Well, she needed it now. The door opened easily and Charlie looked around. She didn't remember much about the first couple of years here. She had been only 3 years old, and all of the memories had faded together in the blur of a child's grief and loss, of not understanding why her mother had to go away, clinging to her father every moment, not trusting the world around her unless he was there, unless she was holding tightly to him, burying himself in his flannel shirts and the smell of grease and hot metal and him. Hi, what chapter is this? It is chapter 1 of... What is Bendraur playing? Is this gonna be disruptive right now? I'll approve it real quick. Right now? We're in the middle of a book, bro! Now? Okay, fine. I will... Okay, if this is chapter 1, does this mean Spampton appears in the next chapter? Yeah, actually Spampton appears right now. Yeah. Why is he our Lord and Savior Spampton? Yeah, my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's character. Wow, I couldn't have planned that better if I tried. Yeah, I know, exactly. Hi, Jugo. The air crackles with glamour. Wow. I mean, I like the design. It is kind of sick, I won't lie. I can't even be mad about that. Loud. I am going to turn it down just a little bit. Was that the Spampton of 87? Might be. Thank you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Alright. Well. Anyways, back to the story.
Oh wait, hang on. One more interruption before we continue. Because I already said that I would allow it. Why is it... What is happening? It's so loud. Eh? What the fuck did I just watch? Send that to you? Okay. There we go. All right, can we go back to the game, to the novel now? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. What? Hang on. All right. This turret. Okay, goodbye, Bendror. Thank you for that, whatever that was. You can hear me, but not the video. 1 hour of caca. No listen, no audio. Oh, I'm sorry. Yag is sending it in the, thing. And yes, your metal pipe did in fact play. Yeah. Okay. What happened to the chat? What the heck? Oh, do I not have it on here? Hang on. Man, it would be nice if I could... There we go. Oh, whoa, there's chat.
Oh, the prototype! The prototype!
It was beautiful. Yeah, I told Yag to send it into @you. Okay. Are we ready to are we ready to continue? Oh hell yeah! Jugo with the freaking 80 stream streak. W Jugo. Alright. Can we go back? Are we good? For real this time? Also, let me do this real quick. Before I forget. There was one more thing I wanted to add to this scene that I forgot about. Big W. So true. There we go. Okay, cool. Now the emote wall should work again. The chat is on screen. We're good. We're good! Back to the book. Back to the book for real. Might actually make it just a little bit bigger. There you go. Okay. The stairs stretched straight up in front of her, but she did not move directly to them. Instead, she went into the living room, where all the furniture was still in place. She had not really noticed it as a child, but the house was a little too large for the furniture they had. Things were spread too widely in order to fill the space. The coffee table was too far from the couch to reach. The easy chair was too far across the room to carry on a conversation. There was a dark stain in the wooden floorboards near the center of the room. Charlie stepped around it quickly and went to the kitchen, where the cupboards held only a few pots, pans, and dishes. Charlie had never felt a lack of anything as a child, but it seemed now that the unnecessary enormity of the house was sort of an apology, the attempt of a man who had lost so much to give his daughter what he could. He'd always had a way of overdoing whatever he did. The last time she was here, the house had been dark and everything felt wrong. She was carried up the stairs to her bedroom, although she was 7 years old and could have gone quicker on her own 2 feet. But Aunt Jen had stopped on the front porch, picked her up, and carried her, shielding her face as though she were a baby in the glaring sun. In her room, Aunt Jen sent Charlie down and closed the bedroom door behind them. She told her to pack her suitcase, and Charlie had cried because all her things could never fit into that small suitcase. "We can come back for the rest later," Aunt Jen said, her impatience leaking through as Charlie hovered indecisively at her dresser, trying to decide which t-shirts to bring along. They had never come back for the rest. Charlie mounted the stairs, heading to her old bedroom. The door was partially cracked, and as she opened it, she had a giddy feeling of displacement, as though her younger self might be sitting there among her toys, might look up and ask Charlie, "Who are you?" Charlie went in. Like the rest of the house, her bedroom was untouched. The walls were pale pink, and the ceiling, which sloped dramatically on one side to follow the line of the roof, was painted to match. Her old bed was stood against the wall beneath a large window. The mattress was still intact, though the sheets were gone. The window was cracked slightly open, and the rotting lace curtains wavered in the gentle breeze from outside. There was a dark water stain in the paint beneath the window where the weather had gotten in over the years, betraying the house's neglect. Charlie climbed onto the bed and forced the window shut. It obeyed with a screech, and Charlie stepped back and turned her attention to the rest of the room, to her father's creations. Their first night in the house, Charlie had been afraid to sleep alone. She did not remember the night, but her father had told about it often enough that the story had taken on the quality of memory. She sat up and wailed until her father came to find her, until he scooped her up and held her and promised her he would make sure she was never alone again. The next morning, he took her by the hand and led her to the garage, where he set to work keeping that promise. The first of his inventions was a purple rabbit, now gray with age from years of sitting in the sunlight. Her father had named him Theodore. He was the size of a 3-year-old child, her size at the time, and he had plush fur, shining eyes, and a dapper red bow tie. He didn't do much, only waved a hand, tilted his head to the side, and said in her father's voice, "I love you, Charlie." But it was enough to give her a night watcher, someone to keep her company when she could not sleep. Right now, Theodore sat in a white wicker chair in the far corner of the room. Charlie waved at him, but, not activated, he did not wave back. After Theodore, the toys got more complex. Some worked, and some did not. Some seemed to have permanent glitches, while others simply did not appeal to Charlie's childish imagination. She knew her father took those back to his workshop and recycled them for parts, though she did not like to watch them be dismantled. But the ones that were kept, those she loved, they were here now, looking at her expectantly. Smiling, Charlie pushed a button beside her bed. It gave way stiffly, but nothing happened. She pushed it again, holding it down longer, and this time, across the room, and with the weary creak of metal on metal, the unicorn began to move. The unicorn, Charlie had named him Stanley for some reason she could no longer remember, was made of metal and had been painted glossy white. He trundled around the room on a circular track, bobbing his head stiffly up and down. The track squealed as Stanley rounded the corner and came to a stop beside the bed. Charlie Oh my god. Hi, Kaliana. Hi, Daisy. Okay. We good now? Charlie knelt beside him on the floor and patted his flank. His glossy paint was chipped and peeling, and his face had given over to rust. His eyes were lively, gazing out at the decay. "You need a new coat of paint, Stanley," Charlie said. The unicorn stared ahead, unresponsive. At the foot of the bed there was a wheel. Made of patched-together metal, it had always reminded her of something she might find on a submarine. Charlie turned it. It stuck for a moment, then gave way, rotating as it always did, and across the room the smallest closet door swung open. Out sailed Bella. Sorry, wait, hang on. Ella, sorry. I read booping and got confused. Why are we booping? I don't know. It's just what they're doing over here on Twitch, I guess. Out sailed Ella on her track, a child-sized doll bearing a teacup and saucer in her tiny hands like an offering. Ella's plaid dress was still crisp, and her patent leather shoes still shone. Perhaps the closet had protected her from the damage of the damp. Charlie had an identical outfit, back when she and Ella were the same height. "Hi, Ella," she said softly. As the wheel unwound, Ella retreated to the closet again, the door closing behind her. Charlie followed her. The closets had been built to align with the slant of the ceiling, and there were 3 of them. Ella lived in the short one, which was about 3.5 feet tall. Next to it was 1 foot or so taller, and a third, closest to the bedroom door, was the same height as the rest of the room. She smiled, remembering. "Why do you have 3 closets?" John had demanded the first time he came over. She looked at him blankly, confused by the question. "'Cause that's how many there are," she said finally. She pointed defensively to the littlest one. "That one's Ella's anyway," she added. John nodded, satisfied. Charlie shook her head and opened the door to the middle closet. Or tried to. The knob stopped with a jolt. It was locked. She rattled it a few times, but gave up without much conviction. She stayed crouched low to the floor and glanced up at the tallest closet, her big girl closet that she would someday grow into. "You won't need it until you're older," her father would say, but that day never came. The door now hung open slightly, but Charlie didn't disturb it. It hadn't opened for her. It had only given way to time. As she moved to stand, she noticed something shiny, half hidden under the rim of the locked middle door. She leaned forward to pick it up. It looked like a broken-off piece of a circuit board. She smiled slightly. Nuts, bolts, scraps, and parts had turned up all over the place, once upon a time. Her father had always had stray parts in his pockets. He would carry around something he was working on, set it down, and forget where it was, or worse, put something aside for safekeeping, never to be seen again. There was also a strand of her hair clinging to it. She unwound it carefully from the tiny lip of metal it was stuck on. Yeah, same here. I do the same thing. I'm like reading that like, man, that's everything I own is just everywhere throughout the house. Alright. Finally, as though she had been putting it off, Charlie crossed the room and picked up Theodore. His back had not faded in the sun like the front of his body, and it was the same rich, dark purple she remembered. She pressed the button at the base of his neck, but he remained lifeless. His fur was threadbare, one ear hanging loose by a single rotting thread, and through the hole she could see the green plastic of a circuit board. Charlie held her breath, listening fearfully for something. "I-oo-lee," the rabbit said with a barely audible halting noise. And Charlie set him down, her face hot and her chest pinched tight. She had not really expected to hear her father's voice again. "I love you too." Charlie looked around the room. When she was a child, it had been her magical world, and she was possessive of it. Only a few chosen friends were ever even allowed inside. She went to her bed and set Stanley moving on his track again. She left, closing the door behind her before the little unicorn came to a halt. She went out the back door to the driveway and stopped in front of the garage that had been her father's workshop. Half buried in the gravel a few feet away was a piece of metal, and Charlie went to pick it up. It was jointed in the middle, and she held it in her hands, smiling a little as she bent it back and forth. An elbow joint, she thought. I wonder who that was going to belong to. She had stood in this exact spot many times before. She closed her eyes, and the memory overwhelmed her. She was a little girl again, sitting on the floor of her father's workshop, playing with scraps of wood and metal as though they were toy blocks, trying to build a tower with the uneven pieces. The shop was hot, and she was sweaty. Grime sticking to her legs as she sat in her shorts and sneakers. She could almost smell the sharp, metallic odor of the soldering iron. Her father was nearby, never out of sight, working on Stanley the unicorn. Stanley's face was still unfinished, one side white and shining and friendly, with a gleaming brown eye that seemed almost to see. Sorry, I got scared by the freaking door, bro. What the heck? Hang on one sec. I'm gonna have to deactivate the Freddy nose honk. It is too invasive. Actually, probably gonna... I know. But I also would like to be able to, you know, not be too distracted by the book or by the sound. Afton comes for you. No! No! I lost a flashlight for like 5 months, bought a new one, then 5 days later I found the one I lost. That's exactly how it always freaking goes, dude. That's how I always lose everything. I finally replace it and then I freaking find it. Okay. The other half of the toy's face was all exposed circuit boards and metal parts. Charlie's father had looked at her and smiled, and she smiled back, beloved. In a darkened corner behind her father, barely visible, hung a jumble of metal limbs, a twisted skeleton with a burning silver eyes. Every once in a while, it gave an uncanny twitch. Charlie tried never to look at it, but as her father worked, as she played with her makeshift toys, her eye was drawn back to it again and again. The limbs, contorted, seemed almost mocking, the thing a ghastly gesture, and yet there was something about it that suggested enormous pain. "Daddy?" Charlie said, and her father did not look up from his work. "Daddy?" She said again, more urgently, and this time he turned to her slowly, as though not fully present in the world. "What do you need, sweetie?" She pointed at the metal skeleton. "Does it hurt?" She wanted to ask the question, but when she looked into her father's eyes, she found she could not. She shook her head. "Nothing." He nodded at her with an absent smile and went back to his work. Behind him, the creature gave another awful twitch, and its eyes still burned. Charlie shivered and drew herself back to the present. She glanced behind her, feeling exposed. She looked down and her gaze fixated on something. 3 widely spaced grooves in the ground. She knelt, thoughtful, and ran her finger over one of them. The gravel was scattered away, the marks worn heavily into the dirt. A camera tripod of some sort? It was the first unfamiliar thing she'd seen. The door to the workshop was cracked open slightly, inviting, but she felt no desire to go inside. Quickly, she headed back into her car, but she stopped as soon as she settled into the driver's seat. Her keys were gone, having probably fallen out of her pocket somewhere inside the house. She retraced her steps, merely glancing into the living room and kitchen before heading up to her bedroom. The keys were on the wicker chair beside Theodore the rabbit. She picked them up and jangled them for a moment, not quite ready to leave the room behind. She sat down on the bed. Stanley the unicorn had stopped beside the bed, as he always did, and as she sat, she patted him absently on the head. It had grown dark while she was outside, and the room was now cast in shadows. God, I suddenly can't read. Somehow, without the bright sunlight, the toys' flaws and deterioration were thrown into sharp relief. Theodore's eyes no longer shone, and his thin... I'm gonna restart this whole paragraph, actually, I think. Hi, little Billy Nilly. I have stumbled so much, and now I need to restart it. Okay. She retraced her steps, merely glancing into the living room and kitchen before heading up to her bedroom. The keys were on the wicker chair, beside Theodore the rabbit. She picked them up and jangled them for a moment, not quite ready to leave the room behind. She sat down on the bed. Stanley the unicorn had stopped behind the bed, as he always did, and as she sat, she patted him absently on the head. It had grown dark while she was outside, and the room was now cast in shadows. Somehow, without the bright sunlight, the toys' flaws and deterioration were thrown into sharp relief. Theodore's eyes no longer shone, and his thin fur and hanging ear made him look like a sickly vagabond. When she looked down at Stanley, the rust around his eyes made him look like hollow sockets, and his bared teeth, which she had always thought of as a smile, became the awful, knowing grin of a skull. Charlie stood up, careful not to touch him, and hurried toward the door, but her foot caught on the wheel beside the bed. She tripped on the tracks and fell sprawling to the floor. There was a whir of spinning metal, and as she raised her head, a small pair of feet appeared under her nose, clad in shining patent leather. She looked up. There above her was Ella, staring down at her, silent and uninvited, her glassy eyes almost appearing to see. The teacup and saucer were held out before her with a military stiffness. Charlie got up cautiously, taking care not to disturb the doll. She left the room, stepping carefully to avoid activating any other toys. As Charlie went, Ella retreated to her closet, almost matching her pace. Why did Twitch just show me the rules for the chat? Motherfucker, I've been here before. I don't know. I haven't changed the rules or anything. I guess you better make sure you follow them or something, I don't know. Hi, Luno. Charlie hurried down the stairs, seized by an urgency to get away. In the car, she fumbled the key 3 times before sliding it into place. She backed too fast down the driveway, running recklessly over the grass of the front yard, and sped away. After about a mile, Charlie pulled over on the shoulder and turned the car off, staring straight ahead through the windshield, her eyes focused on nothing. She forced herself to breathe slowly. She reached up and adjusted the rearview mirror so she could see herself. She always expected to see pain, anger, and sorrow written on her face, but they never were. Her cheeks were pink, and her round face looked almost cheerful, like always. Her first weeks living with Aunt Jen, she heard the same things over and over when Aunt Jen introduced her. What a pretty child, what a happy-looking child she is. Charlie always looked like she was about to smile, her brown eyes wide and sparkling, her thin mouth ready to curve up, even when she wanted to sob. The incongruity was a mild betrayal. She ran her fingers through her bright brown hair as though that would magically fix its slight frizziness and put the mirror back into position. She turned the car back on and searched for a radio station, hoping music would bring her fully back to reality. That is a good point. You're a mod. You should know the rules. I don't know why it would remind you. I feel like it does that to me, though, on some people. She flipped from station to station, not really hearing what any of them were playing, and finally settled on an AM broadcast with a host who seemed to be yelling condescendingly at his audience. She had no idea what he was talking about, but the brash and annoying sound was enough to jar her back into the present. The clock in the car was almost always wrong, so she checked her watch. It was almost time to meet her friends at the diner they had chosen, near the center of town. Good luck in Dead by Daylight, Luno! Thank you for stopping to say hello. Have fun in Dead by Daylight. I'll have fun reading my book. Okay. Charlie pulled back onto the road and drove, letting the sound of the angry talk radio host soothe her mind. That's one way to do it, I guess. When she approached the restaurant, Charlie pulled into the lot and stopped, but did not park. The front of the diner had a long... Wait, hang on, what? The front of the diner had a long picture window all across it, and she could write... Oh my god, why can't I read this? I'm suddenly so dyslexic. Thank you. That's very helpful. It's helping me read. The front of the diner had a long picture window all across it, and she could see right inside. Though she had not seen them for years, it took her only a moment to spot her friends through the glass. Jessica was easiest to pick out from the crowd. She was always in closed pictures with her letters, and right now she looked exactly like her last photo. Even seated, she was clearly taller than either of the boys, and very thin. Though Charlie could not see her whole outfit, she was wearing a loose white shirt with an embroidered vest, and she had a brimmed hat perched on her glossy, shoulder-length brown hair, with an enormous flower threatening to tip it off her head. She was gesturing excitedly about something as she spoke. The 2 boys were sitting next to each other, facing her. Carlton looked like an older version of his red-headed childhood self. He still had a bit of a baby face, but his features had refined, and his hair was carefully tousled and held into place by some alchemical hair product. He was almost pretty, for a boy, and he wore a black workout shirt, though she doubted he'd ever worked out a day in his life. Damn! Damn, Charlie! He slouched forward on the table, resting his chin in his hands. Beside him, John sat closest to the window. John had been the kind of child who got dirty before he even went outside. There would be paint on his shirt before the teacher handed out the watercolors, grass stains on his knees before they came near a playground, and dirt under his fingernails just after he washed his hands. Charlie knew it was him because it had to be, but he looked completely different. The grubbiness of childhood had been replaced by something... The grubbiness of childhood had been replaced by something crisp and clean. He was wearing a neatly pressed, light green, button-down shirt, and the sleeves rolled up and the collar open, preventing him from looking too uptight. He was leaning back confidently in the booth, nodding enthusiastically, apparently absorbed in whatever Jessica was saying. The only concession to his former self was his hair, sticking all over his head, and he had a 5 o'clock shadow, a smug, adult version of the dirt he always wore as a kid. Hi, Endo. Bye, Endo. Charlie smiled to herself. There's a cooldown on it? Oh, I can get rid of that. There you go. Now there's no cooldown. Charlie smiled to herself. John had been something like her childhood crush, before either of them really understood what that meant. He gave her cookies from his Transformers lunchbox, and once in kindergarten, he took the blame when she broke the glass jar that held colored beads for arts and crafts. She remembered the moment when it slipped from her hands and she watched it fall. She could not have moved fast enough to catch it, but she would not have tried. She wanted to see it break. The glass hit the wood floor and shattered into 1,000 pieces, and the beads scattered, many-colored, among the shards. She thought it was beautiful, and then she started to cry. John had a note sent home to his parents, and when she told him thank you, he had winked at her with an irony beyond his years and simply said, "For what?" After that, John was allowed to come to her room. She let him play with Stanley and Theodore, watching anxiously the first time he learned to press the buttons and make them move. She would be crushed if he didn't like them, knowing instinctively that it would make her think less of him. They were her family. But John was fascinated as soon as he saw them. He loved her mechanical toys, and so she loved him. 2 years later, behind a pink tree... Wait, what? 2 years later, behind a tree beside her father's workshop, she almost let him kiss her. And then it happened, and everything ended. At least for Charlie. Charlie shook herself, forcing her mind back to the present. Looking again at Jessica's polished appearance, she glanced down at herself. Purple t-shirt, denim jacket, black jeans, and combat boots. It had felt like a good choice this morning, but now she wished she had chosen something else. This is all you ever wear, she reminded herself. She parked and locked the car behind her, even though people in Hurricane did not usually lock their cars. Then she went into the diner to meet her friends for the first time in 10 years. The warmth, noise, and light of the restaurant hit her in a wave as she entered. For a moment she was overwhelmed, but Jessica saw her pause in the doorway and shouted her name. Charlie smiled and went over. I'm gonna change the audio just a little bit for a second. The cat's typing a message to us, that's why it stepped on the phone. My goodness. She said the thing. Oh, the silver eyes thing. Let me get, Hang on, I'm looking for some different sound. Perfect. That's good, right? I don't know why I said pink tree. Okay. The warmth, noise, and light of the I'm going to reread this part, by the way, sorry. The warmth, noise, and light of the restaurant hit her in a wave as she entered. For a moment she was overwhelmed, but Jessica saw her pause in the doorway and shouted her name. Charlie smiled and went over. "Hi," she said awkwardly, flicking her eyes at each of them, but not fully making contact. Jessica scooted over on the red vinyl bench and patted the seat beside her. "Here, sit," she said. "I was just telling John and Carlton about my glamorous life." She rolled her eyes as she said it, managing to convey both self-deprecation and the sense that her life was truly something exciting. "Did you know Jessica lives in New York?" Carlton said. There was something careful about the way he spoke, like he was thinking about his words before he formed them. John was silent, but he smiled at Charlie anxiously. Jessica rolled her eyes again, and with a flash of déjà vu, Charlie suddenly recalled that this had been a habit even when they were children. 8 million people live in New York, Carlton. It's not exactly an achievement, Jessica said. Carlton shrugged. "I've never been anywhere," he said. "I didn't know you still lived in town," Charlie had said. "Where else am I going to live? My family has been here since 1896. Deepening his voice to mimic his father. "Is that even true?" Charlie asked. "I don't know," Carlton said in his own register. "Could be. Dad ran for mayor 2 years ago. I mean, he lost, but still, who runs for mayor?" He made a face. "I swear, the day I turn 18, I am out of here." "Where are you going to go?" John asked, looking seriously at Carlton. Carlton met his eyes, just as serious for a moment. Abruptly, he broke away and pointed out the window, closing one eye as if to get his aim true. John raised an eyebrow as he looked out the window, trying to follow the line Carlton was pointing to. Charlie looked too. Carlton wasn't pointing at anything. John opened his mouth to say something, but Carlton interrupted. "Or," he said as he smoothly pointed in the opposite direction. "Okay." John scratched his head, looking slightly embarrassed. "Anywhere, right?" he added with a laugh. "Where's everyone else?" Charlie asked, peering out the window and searching the parking lot for new arrivals. "Tomorrow," John said. "They're coming tomorrow morning," Jessica jumped in to clarify. "Marla's bringing her little brother. Can you believe it?" "Jason?" Charlie smiled. She remembered Jason as a little bundle of blankets with a tiny red face peeking out. "I mean, who wants a baby around?" Jessica adjusted her hat primly. "I'm pretty sure he's not a baby anymore," Charlie said, stifling a laugh. "Practically a baby," Jessica said. "Anyway, I booked us a room at the motel down by the highway. It was all I could find. The boys are staying with Carlton." "Okay," Charlie said. She was vaguely impressed by Jessica's organization, but she wasn't happy about the plan. She was loath to share a room with Jessica, who now seemed like a stranger. Jessica had become the kind of girl who intimidated her, polished and immaculate, speaking as though she had everything in life figured out. For a moment, Charlie considered going back to her old house for the night, but as soon as she thought of it, the idea repelled her. That house, at night, was no longer the province of the living. "Don't be dramatic," she scolded herself. But now John was speaking. He had a way of commanding attention with his voice, probably because he spoke less often than everyone else. He spent most of his time listening, but not out of... What the fuck word is that? Reticence. Reticence? Reticence. Sorry. He was gathering information, speaking only when he had wisdom or sarcasm to dispense. Often it was both at once. "Hi, DT. Thank you for the little vat." "Does anyone know what's happening tomorrow?" They were all silent for a moment, and the waitress took the opportunity to come over for their order. Charlie flipped quickly through the menu, her eyes not really focusing on the words. Her turn to order came much faster than she was expecting, and she froze. Eggs, she said at last. The woman's hard expression was still fixed on her, and she realized she had not finished. Scrambled. Wheat toast, she added, and the woman went away. Charlie looked back down at the menu. She hated this about herself. When she was caught off guard, she seemed to lose all ability to act or process what was going on around her. People were incomprehensible, their demands alien. Ordering dinner shouldn't be this hard, she thought. This is so real. The others had begun their conversation again, and she turned her attention to them, feeling like she had fallen behind. What do we even say to his parents? Jessica was saying. Carlton, do you ever see them? Charlie asked. Not really, he said. Around, I guess. Sometimes. I'm surprised they stayed in Hurricane, Jessica said with a note of worldly disapproval in her voice. Charlie said nothing, but she thought, how could they not? His body had never been found. How could they not have secretly hoped he might come home, no matter how impossible they knew it was? How could they leave the only home Michael knew? It would mean really, finally giving up on him. Maybe that was what this scholarship was, an admission that he was never coming home. Charlie was acutely aware that they were in a public place, where talking about Michael felt inappropriate. They were, in a sense, both insiders and outsiders. They had been closer to Michael, probably more than anyone in this restaurant, but with the exception of Carlton, they were no longer from Hurricane. They did not belong. She saw the tears falling on her paper placemat before she felt them, and she hurriedly wiped her eyes, looking down and hoping no one had noticed. When she looked up, John appeared to be studying his silverware, but she knew he had seen. She was grateful to him for not trying to offer comfort. W. John. John, do you still write? Charlie asked. John had declared himself an author when they were about 6, having learned to read and write when he was 4, a year ahead of the rest of them. At the age of 7, he completed his first novel, and pressed his poorly spelled, inscrutably illustrated creation on his friends and family, demanding reviews. Charlie remembered that she had given him only 2 stars. John laughed at the question. I actually do my E's the right way these days, he said. I can't believe you remember that. But I do actually, yeah. He stopped, clearly wanting to say more. What do you write? Carlton obliged, and John looked down at his placemat, speaking mostly to the table. Short stories, mostly. I actually had one published last year. I mean, it was just in a magazine, nothing big. They all made suitable noises of being impressed, and he looked up again, embarrassed but pleased. What was the story about? Charlie asked. John hesitated, but before he could speak or decide not to, the waitress returned with their food. They had all ordered something from the breakfast menu, coffee, eggs, and bacon, blueberry pancakes for Carlton. The brightly colored food looked hopeful, like a fresh start to the day. Charlie took a bite of her toast, and they all ate silently for a moment. Hey, Carlton, John had said suddenly. Whatever happened to Freddy's anyway? There was a brief hush. Carlton looked nervously at Charlie, and Jessica stared up at the ceiling. John flushed red, and Charlie spoke hastily. It's okay, Carlton. I'd like to know too. Carlton shrugged, stabbing at his pancakes nervously with his fork. They built over it, he said. What did they build? Jessica asked. Is there something else there now? Was it built over or just torn down? John asked. Carlton shrugged again, quick, like a nervous tick. Like I said, I don't know. It's too far back from the road to see, and I haven't exactly investigated. It might have been leased to someone, but I don't know what they did. It's been blocked off for years, under construction. You can't even tell if the building's still there. So it could still be there? Jessica asked with a spark of excitement breaking through. Like I said, I don't know, Carlton answered. Shirley felt the diner's fluorescent lights glaring down on her face, suddenly too bright. She felt exposed. She had barely eaten, but she found herself rising from the booth, pulling a few crumpled bills from her pocket and dropping them on the table. I'm going to go outside for a minute, she said. Smoke break, she added hastily. You don't smoke. She chided herself for the clumsy lie as she made her way to the door, jostling past a family of 4 without saying excuse me, and stepped out into the cool evening. She walked to her car and sat on the hood, the metal denting slightly under her weight. She took in breaths of the cool air as if it were water and closed her eyes. What the fuck are you guys talking about over here? Stop talking about Jax being pregnant. Just let it go. Let it go. It's so distracting. You knew it would come up. You knew you would have to talk about it, she reminded herself. She had practiced on the drive here, had forced herself to think back to happy memories, to smile and say, "Remember when?" She thought she was prepared for this, but of course she had been wrong. Why else would she have to run out of the restaurant like a child? Charlie? She opened her eyes and saw John standing next to her, holding her jacket out in front of him like an offering. "You forgot your jacket," he said, and she made herself smile at him. "Thanks," she said. She took it and draped it over her shoulders, then slid over on the car's hood for him to sit. "Sorry about that," she said. In the dim lights of the parking lot, she could still see him blush to the ears. He joined her on the car's hood, leaving a deliberate space between them. "I haven't learned to think before I talk. I'm sorry." John watched the sky as a plane passed overhead. Charlie smiled, this time unforced. "It's okay. I knew it was going to come up. It had to. It sounds stupid, but I never think about it. I don't let myself. No one knows what happened except my aunt, and we never talk about it. Then I come here and suddenly it's everywhere. I was just surprised, that's all." "Uh-oh," John pointed, and Charlie saw Jessica and Carlton hesitating in the doorway of the diner. She waved them over and they came. "Remember that time at Freddy's when the merry-go-round got stuck, and Marla and that mean kid Billy had to keep riding it until their parents plucked them off?" Charlie said. John laughed, and the sound made her smile. Their faces were bright red, crying like babies. She covered her face, guilty that it was so funny to her. There was a brief, surprised silence, then Carlton started laughing. "Then Marla puked all over him." "Sweet justice," Charlie said. "Actually, I think it was nachos," John added. Jessica wrinkled her nose. "So gross. I never wrote it again. Not after that." "Oh, come on, Jessica. They cleaned it," said Carlton. "I'm pretty sure kids puked all over that place. Those wet floor signs weren't there for nothing. Right, Charlie?" "Don't look at me. I never puked." "You used to spend so much time there. Privileges of knowing the owner's daughter," Jessica said, looking at Charlie with mock accusation. "I couldn't help who my dad was," Charlie said, laughing. Jessica looked thoughtful for a moment before she continued. "I mean, how could you have a better childhood than spending all day at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza?" "I don't know," said Carlton. "I think that music got to me over the years." He hummed a few bars of the familiar song. Charlie dipped her head to it, recalling the tune. "I love those animals so much," Jessica said suddenly. "What's the proper term for them? Animals? Robots? Mascots?" "I think those are all accurate." Charlie leaned back. "Well, anyway, I used to go and talk to the bunny. What was his name?" "Bonnie," Charlie said. "Yeah," said Jessica. "I used to complain to him about my parents. I always thought he had an understanding look about him." Carlton laughed. "Animatronic therapy, recommended by 6 out of 7 crazy people." "Shut up," Jessica retorted. "I knew he wasn't real. I just liked talking to him." Charlie smiled a little. "I remember that," she said. Jessica in her prim little dresses, her brown hair in 2 tight braids, like a little kid out of an old book, walking up to the stage when the show was over, whispering earnestly to the life-size animatronic rabbit. If anyone came up beside her, she went instantly silent and still, waiting for them to go away so she could resume her one-sided conversations. Charlie had never talked to the animals at her father's restaurant, or felt close to them like some kids seem to. Although she liked them, they belonged to the public. She had her own toys, mechanical friends waiting for her at home, that belonged only to her. "I liked Freddy," said John. "He always seemed the most relatable." "You know, there are a lot of things about my childhood that I can't remember at all," Carlton said. "But I swear I can close my eyes and see every last detail of that place. Even the gum I used to stick under the tables." "Gum? Yeah, right. Those were boogers." Jessica took a tiny step away from Carlton. He grinned. "I was 7. What do you want? You all picked on me back then. Remember when Marla wrote Carlton smells like feet on the wall outside?" "You did smell like feet." Jessica laughed with a sudden outburst. Carlton shrugged, unperturbed. "I used to try to hide when it was time to go home. I wanted to be stuck in there overnight so I could have the whole place to myself." "Yeah, you always kept everyone waiting," said John. "And you always hid under the same table." Charlie spoke slowly, and when she did, everyone turned to her, as though they had been waiting. "Sometimes I feel like I remember every inch of it, like Carlton. But sometimes it's like I hardly remember it at all. It's all in pieces. Like I remember the carousel and that time that it got stuck. I remember drawing on the placemats. I remember little things, eating that greasy pizza, hugging Freddy in the summer and his yellow fur getting stuck all over my clothes. But a lot of it is like pictures, like it happened to someone else." They were all looking at her oddly. "Freddy was brown, right?" Jessica looked to the others for confirmation. "I guess you don't really remember it that well after all." Carlton teased Charlie, and she laughed briefly. "Right, I meant brown," she said. "Brown. Freddy was brown. Of course he was. She could see him in her mind now. But somewhere in the depths of her recall, there was a flash of something else." "Golden Freddy?" Carlton launched into another story, and Charlie tried to turn her attention to him, but there was something disturbing, worrisome about that lapse in memory. "It was 10 years ago. It's not like you got dementia at 17, she told herself. But it was such a basic detail to have misremembered. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught John looking at her, a pensive expression on his face, as though she had said something important. "You really don't know what happened to it?" she asked Carlton with more urgency in her voice than she intended. He stopped talking, surprised. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you." "It's okay," he said. "But yeah, or no, I don't really know what happened." "How can you not know? You live here." "Charlie, come on," said John. "It's not like I hang around that part of town. Things are different. The town has grown," Carlton said mildly, seeming unruffled by her outburst. "And I honestly don't look for reasons to go around there, you know. Why would I? There isn't any reason. Not anymore." "We could go there," John said suddenly, and Charlie's heart skipped. Carlton looked nervously at Charlie. "What? Seriously, it's a mess. I don't know if you can even get to it." Charlie found herself nodding. She felt as though she had spent the whole day weighed down by memory, seeing everything through a filter of years. And now she felt suddenly alert, her mind fully present. She wanted to go. "Let's see it," she said. "Even if there's nothing there, I want to see." They were all silent. Suddenly John smiled with a reckless confidence. "Yeah, let's do it." "This sounds like it'll go really well. What could possibly go wrong?" Alright, time for chapter 2. Charlie pulled to a stop, feeling the soft give of dirt under her tires, and turned off the car. She got out and surveyed their surroundings. The sky was a rich, dark blue, the last trails of the sunset streaking off to the west. The parking lot was unpaved, and before them lay a sprawling monster of a building, a rising acre of glass and concrete. There were lamps in the parking lot that had never been used, and no lights shone out onto the lot. The building itself looked like an abandoned sanctuary, entombed in black trees amid the distant roar of civilization. She looked at Jessica in the passenger seat, who was craning her neck out the window. "Is this the right place?" Jessica asked. Charlie shook her head slowly, not quite certain what she was seeing. "I don't know." Charlie got out of her car and stood in silence as John and Carlton pulled up beside her. What is this? John stepped out of the car cautiously and stared blankly at the monument. Does anyone have a flashlight? He looked up at each of them. Carlton held up his keychain and waved around the feeble glow of a pen light for a minute. Great. John muttered, walking away with resignation. Hold on a sec, Charlie said, and went around to her trunk. My aunt makes me carry around a bunch of stuff for emergencies. What could go wrong? Dies. Alright, hang on. I need to grab water really bad. Give me one sec. Ow, my ears hurt. Hang on. I'll be right back. Isn't this is the guy who said I'm fucking the dog? Shugo, you just be saying shit. Like, actually? Cause what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. It's a real thing? Okay. Yeah, your freaky ass would know, wouldn't you? I'm not gonna look on YouTube for search term, I'm fucking the dog. Shugo! You can't just fucking say these things. No, I did not.
Oh.
What did she say?
She was talking about how we have superior, like, cheese goo and stuff.
Yeah, because they don't have mac and cheese.
Lizard.
Oh, thank you for the lizard.
Lizard. Lizard.
God.
Lizard. Lizard.
That
Lizard.
startled
Lizard.
me. Like, that's
Lizard.
the-
Lizard. Lizard. Lizard.
Mhm.
Lizard. Lizard.
I can't remember which one scared me during Poppy playtime really bad. Oh, it was the crab rave. It scared me more than anything in Poppy playtime. I never thought the fish were dying. There it goes.
Ms. Flibble gifted 5 subscriptions.
We can't have any of that foul
What?
language around
Already?
here.
Oh my god, okay. Okay. We can at least listen to this.
Don't you know your dog's
Yeah, apparently not. I don't actually know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. It just really just throws you right in there, huh? Okay. I genuinely don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm just a jar of mayo trying to make it in the world, I guess. Where's the other mayo? Is it just me? Am I all alone out here in the mayo world? This music's kind of crazy, though. What am I supposed to be doing? What's my objective here? Okay. I don't understand, actually. What am I supposed to be doing? What's the objective? Okay. Balls. That is all you're getting of that. That is all you're getting of that. Okay, I'm back. Oh my god. If I can remember how to get to the thing, that would be really good. Hey Giz, you're so good. Have a great rest of your night. It'll be here, so don't worry about it too much. This one's a lot quieter than the other one. Yeah, I'm glad that because of the clips, you guys are able to actually get some context for some of the quotes. Because that one, the check on YouTube one, is like always one that people are like, what the hell happens to your stream? And I'm like, I swear there's a reason for it. Not the Cheddar, why do you have that quote memorized? Why'd you have that, like, ready to go? Just curious. I'm gonna go back to reading my FNAF book now. And I'm gonna pretend that I didn't sandwich, of course. How do we have over 348 quotes? Dude, we have, I think, what are we at now? We're almost at 400, aren't we? To be fair, some of them have been, like, deleted, and I can't, like, replace them. We're over 400? Hang on. What do we have? Hang on, let me see. We're almost at 500. I thought we were almost at 400. Oh my god. $473? Oh, just about, actually, Butterduck. You're almost right on it. It is 472. That's how many we have. Well, yeah. Some of them are gone, though. Like, there's no quote number 1. Some of the other ones we don't have. But I also looked at how many hours I've streamed this year. And I guess that makes a lot more sense. If I look at that and I think about it, makes sense. It's a lot. Hi, Brett. Alright, we're gonna go back to reading the FNAF book. Why'd the Pregnant Jack's quote come up? You know what? I'm not even. We're just gonna move on. We're just gonna move on. Okay. Not the schizophrenic. Okay. Where the hell was I? Okay. Aunt Jen, loving but severe, had taught Charlie self-reliance above almost anything else. Before she let Charlie have her old blue Honda, she had insisted that Charlie know how to change a tire, check the oil, and know the basic parts of the engine. In the trunk, a black box tucked in next to the jack, spare tire, and small crowbar, she had a blanket, a heavy police-issue flashlight, bottled water, granola bars, matches, and emergency flares. Charlie grabbed the flashlight. Carlton grabbed a granola bar. Almost by silent agreement, they began to walk the building's perimeter. Charlie holding up the light in a steady beam in front of them. The building itself looked mostly finished, but the ground was all dirt and rock, uneven and soft. Charlie shone the light on the ground, where grass had grown patchy in the dirt, inches long. No one has been digging for a while, Charlie said. The place was massive, and it took a long time to circumnavigate. It wasn't long before the rich blue of the evening was overtaken by a blanket of scattered silver clouds and stars. The surfaces of the building were all the same smooth beige concrete, with windows too high up on the walls to see inside. Did they really just build this whole thing and then just leave? Jessica said. Carlton, you really don't know anything about what happened? John asked. Carlton shrugged expansively. I told you, I don't know. I know that there was construction, but I don't know anything else. Why would they do this? John seemed almost paranoid, scouting the trees as though eyes might be looking back at him. It just goes on and on. He squinted, gazing along the outside of the wall of the building, which seemed to stretch endlessly into the distance. He glanced back to the trees as if making sure they hadn't missed a building somehow. No, it was here. He placed his hand on the drab concrete facing. It's gone. After a moment, he gestured to the others and began to walk back the way they came. Reluctantly, Charlie turned back, following the group. They kept going until they could see their cars again up ahead in the darkness. Sorry, guys. I hoped that there would be at least something familiar, Carlton said exhaustedly. Yeah, Charlie said. She had known it would be, but seeing that Freddy's had been razed to the ground was still a shock. It was so paramount, sometimes, in her mind, that she wanted to get rid of it, wanted to scrub the memories, good and bad, from her head, as if they had never been. Now someone had scrubbed it from the landscape, and it felt like a violation. It should have been up to her. Right, she thought, because you had the money to buy it and preserve it, just like Aunt Jen did with the house. Charlie? John was saying her name and it sounded like he was repeating it. Sorry, what were you saying? Do you want to go inside? Jessica asked. Charlie was surprised they were only now considering this, but then again, none of them were usually prone to criminal activity. The thought was a release, and she took a deep breath, speaking on her exhale. Why not? She said, almost laughing. She hefted the flashlight. Her arms were getting tired. Anyone else want to turn? She waved it back and forth like a pendulum. Carlton grabbed it and took a moment to appreciate its weight. Why is this so heavy? He said, passing it off to John. Here you go. It's a police flashlight, Charlie said absently. You can hit people with it. Okay, Charlie. Jessica wrinkled her nose. Your aunt really wasn't kidding around, huh? Ever used it? Not yet. Charlie winked and made a half-threatening glance at John, who returned an uncertain half-smile, unsure how to react. Is that a fucking threat? What the hell? The wide entrances were sealed with hammered metal doors, no doubt intended to be temporary until construction was finished. Still, it wasn't difficult to find a way in, since many large mounds of gravel and sand scaled the walls, leading right up to the edges of the large, gaping windows. Not trying hard to keep people out, John said. What's anyone gonna steal? Charlie said, staring at the blank, towering walls. They climbed the hill slowly, the gravel shifting and sliding beneath their feet as they went. Carlton reached the window first and peered through. Jessica looked over his shoulder. Can we drop down? John asked. Yes, said Carlton. No, Jessica said at precisely the same time. I'll go, Charlie said. She felt reckless. Without looking through to see how far the fall was, she put her feet through the opening and let herself drop. She landed, knees bent, and the impact rocked her, but it did not hurt. She looked up at her friend staring down. Oh, hang on, Charlie called, pulling a short stepladder from a wall nearby and setting it underneath the window. Okay, she said. Come on. That would have been terrible if she just, jumped and just fucking broke her legs right there. They dropped down one by one and looked around them. Inside was an atrium, or maybe it would have become a food court, with metal benches and plastic tables scattered around, some bolted to the floor. The ceiling rose up high above them, with a glass roof where they could see stars peering down at them. Very post-apocalyptic, Charlie joked, her voice echoing in this open space. Jessica sang a brief, wordless scale suddenly, startling them all into silence. Her voice rang out, pure and clear, something beautiful in the emptiness. Very nice, but let's not call too much attention to ourselves, John said. Right, Jessica said, still very happy with herself. As they walked on, Carlton swept up and took her arm. Your voice is amazing, he said. It's just good acoustics, Jessica said, attempting humility but not meaning a word of it. What page is this? I don't know. The pages are not numbered. I can probably tell you real quick. We're not too far into chapter 2. Of the physical book, it is page 36. Oh, I guess it would be on the thing, huh? On the document that I'm using, it's page 33. I don't know if that helps. It's just good acoustics, Jessica said, attempting humility but not meaning a word of it. They walked the empty halls, peering into each of the massive cavities where a department store might have been. Some parts of the mall had been almost finished, while others were in shambles. Some hallways were littered with piles of dusty concrete bricks and stacks of wood. Others were lined with glass-paneled storefronts, lights hanging in perfect rows above their heads. It's like a lost city, John said. Like Pompeii, said Jessica. Just without the volcano. No, Charlie said. There's nothing here. The whole place had a sterile feel to it. It was not abandoned. It had never sustained life at all. She looked in a store window across from her, one of the few with glass, wondering what it could have displayed. She imagined mannequins dressed in bright clothing, but when she tried to picture them, all she could see was blank faces, concealing something. She suddenly felt out of place, unwelcomed by the building itself. Charlie began to feel restless, some of the luster wearing off the adventure. They had come. Freddy's was gone, and so was the shrine she had kept in her thoughts, where she could still find Michael playing where she last saw him. John stopped suddenly, turning off the flashlight carefully as he could. He put a finger to his lips, motioning for silence. He gestured back the way they had come. In the distance, they saw a small light bobbing in the darkness like a ship in the fog. "Someone else is here," he hissed. "A night guard, maybe?" Carlton whispered. "Why would an abandoned building need a guard?" Charlie wondered. "Kids probably come here to party," Carlton said, then grinned. "I would have come here to party too, if I'd known about it. Or if I partied." "Okay, well, let's backtrack slowly," John said. "Jessica?" he started, then made a zip-it motion across his lips. They continued down the hallway, this time with only the dimmer light of Carlton's keychain. "Wait." Jessica stopped with a whisper, looking intently at the wall surrounding them. "Something's not right." "Yeah, no giant pretzels, I know." Carlton seemed sincere. Jessica waved a hand at him impatiently. "No, something isn't right about the architecture." She took several steps back, trying to see the whole of it. "Something is definitely not right," she repeated. "It's bigger on the outside." "Bigger on the outside?" Charlie repeated, sounding puzzled. "I mean, there's a big difference between where the inside wall is and where the outside wall is. Look." Jessica ran along a length of wall between where two stores would have been. There would have been a store here and a store there. John pointed to the obvious, not understanding the problem. "But there's something in the middle!" Jessica exclaimed, beating her hands against the empty portion of the wall. "This part juts out into the parking lot like the stores on each side, but there's no way into it." "You're right." Charlie started walking toward Jessica, studying the walls. "There should be another entrance here." "And..." Jessica dropped her voice so that only Charlie could hear her. "About the same size as Freddy's, don't you think?" Charlie's eyes widened, and she took a quick step back from Jessica. "What are you two whispering about?" Carlton stepped closer. "We're talking about you," Jessica said sharply, and they walked into one of the vacant department stores that seemed to sandwich off the sealed space. "Come on," she said. "Let's take a look." They started combing the wall as a group, clustered around the tiny light. Charlie was not sure what to hope for. Aunt Jen had warned her about coming back. She didn't encourage Charlie to skip the memorial, not directly, but she wasn't pleased that Charlie was returning to Hurricane. "Just be careful," Aunt Jen had said. "Some things, some memories, are best left undisturbed." Is that why you kept Dad's house? Charlie thought now. Is that why you kept paying for it, leaving it untouched like some kind of shrine, but never visiting? "Hey!" John was gesturing wildly, running inside to catch up to the rest of them. "Hide!" The light was out in the hall again, bobbing up and down, and it was coming closer. Charlie glanced around. They were already too deep inside the massive store to get out in time, and there seemed to be nowhere else to hide. Here! Here!" Jessica whispered. There was a break in the wall beside a rig of scaffolding, and they hurried into it, squeezing past the stacks of open boxes and sheets of plastic hanging from the ceiling. They made their way down what appeared to be a makeshift hallway just on the other side of the department store wall. It really was more like an alley. It was incongruous with the rest of the mall, not shiny and new, but dank and musty. One wall was made of the same concrete as the outside of the building, though it was rough and unfinished, and the other was exposed brick, some parts faded smooth with age, others with the mortar crumbling, leaving chips and holes. Heavy wooden shelves of cleaning equipment stood against the wall, listing to the side, their boards sinking under the weight of old paint cans and mysterious buckets. Something was dripping from uncovered pipes overhead, leaving puddles that they all stepped carefully around. A mouse scuttled by, almost running over Carlton's foot. Carlton made a strangled sound, hand over his mouth. They crouched down behind one of the wooden shelving units, pressing up against the wall. Charlie doused the light and waited. She took shallow breaths, perfectly still, watching and wishing she had picked a better position to freeze into. After a few minutes, her legs started to feel numb under her, and Carlton was so close that she could smell the light, pleasant scent of his shampoo. "That's nice," she whispered. "Thanks," Carlton said, knowing immediately what she was referring to. "It comes in ocean breeze and tropical paradise. I prefer ocean breeze, but it dries the scalp." "Hush!" John hissed. Charlie wasn't sure why she was so worried. It was just a night guard, and at the worst they would have been asked to leave, maybe yelled at a little. She had an overblown aversion to getting in trouble. The bobbing light came closer. Charlie was acutely aware of her body, holding every muscle motionless. Suddenly, she could make out a thin figure leading in from the great room outside. He shone his light down in a long beam down the hallway, sweeping it up and down the walls. "He's got us," Charlie thought. But, inexplicably, he turned and went, apparently satisfied. They waited another few minutes, but there was nothing. He was gone. They all moved slowly out of their crouched positions, stretching limbs that had gone to sleep. Carlton shook one foot vigorously until he could stand on it. Charlie looked down at Jessica, who was still hunched over, as if frozen in time. "Jessica, are you okay?" she whispered. Jessica looked up, smiling. "You won't believe this." She was pointing at the wall, and Charlie leaned over to see. There, etched in the worn brick, were clumsy letters, almost ineligible as in like a child's handiwork. "Carlton smells like feet." "You have to be kidding me," John whispered in awe, turning to face the wall and placing both hands against it. "I recognize these bricks," he laughed. "These are the same bricks!" His smile faded. "They didn't tear it down. They built around it." "It's still here!" Jessica unsuccessfully tried to keep her voice down. "There has to be a way in," she added, her eyes wide with almost childish excitement. Charlie shone the flashlight up and down the hallway, playing the light off each wall, but there was no break, no door. "There was a back door to Freddy's," John said. "Marla wrote that next to the back door, right?" "Why didn't they just knock it down?" Charlie pondered. "Does this hallway just lead nowhere?" Jessica said, puzzled. "It's the story of my life," Carlton said lightly. "Wait." Charlie ran her fingers along the edge of a shelf, peering through the odds and ends crammed into it. The wall behind it looked different. It was metal, not brick. "Right here." She stepped back and looked at the others. "Help me move it." John and Jessica pressed against one side in a unified effort, and she and Carlton pulled on the other. It was immensely heavy, laden with cleaning supplies and large buckets of nails and tools, but it slid farther down the hall almost easily, without incident. Jessica stepped back, breathing hard. "John, give me the big light again." He handed it over, and she turned it back on, aiming where the shelf had stood. "This is it," she said. It was metal and rusting, spattered with paint, a stark contrast to the walls around it. There was only a hole where the handle had been. Someone must have removed it so the shelf could lie flush against the door. Silently, Charlie handed the flashlight back to John, and he held it above her head so she could see. She slipped around the others and tried to squeeze her fingers into the hole where the doorknob once was, trying to pull it open to no avail. "It's not going to open," she said. John was behind her, peering over her shoulder. "Just a second." He squeezed himself into the space beside her and knelt carefully. "I don't think it's locked or anything," he said. "I think it's just rusty. Look at it." The door extended all the way to the floor, its bottom ragged and unfinished. The hinges were on the other side, and the edges were caked in rust. It looked as though it had not been opened in years. John and Charlie pulled on it together, and it moved a fraction of an inch. "Yay!" Jessica exclaimed, almost shouting, then covered her mouth. "Sorry," she said in a whisper, containing my excitement. They took turns pulling on it, leaning over one another, the metal scraping their fingers. The door held on for a long moment, and then it came loose under their weight, swinging open nervously with an unearthly screech. Charlie looked nervously over her shoulder, but the guard did not appear. The door opened only about a foot wide, and they went in one by one, until all four were through. Inside, the air changed, and they all stopped short. Ahead of them was a dark hallway, familiar to them all. "Is this..." Jessica whispered, not taking her eyes from the dark expanse. It's here, Charlie thought. She held out her hand for the flashlight, and John handed it to her wordlessly. She shone the light ahead of them, sweeping the walls. They were covered in children's drawings, crayon on yellowing, curling paper. She started forward, and the others followed, feet shuffling on old tile. It seemed to take forever to traverse the hall, or perhaps it was just that they were moving slowly, with methodical, deliberate steps. Eventually the hallway opened up in a larger expanse, the dining room. It was just as they remembered it, completely preserved. The flashlight beam bounced off 1,000 little things reflective, glittered, or topped with foil ribbon. The tables were still in place, covered in their silver and white checked cloths. The chairs were pulled up to them haphazardly, some tables with too many and others with too few. It looked as though the room had been abandoned in the middle of the lunch hour. Everyone had gotten up expecting to return, but never did. They walked in cautiously, breathing cold, stale air that had been trapped inside for a decade. The whole restaurant gave off a sense of abandonment. No one was coming back. There was a small merry-go-round barely visible in the distant corner, with 4 child-sized ponies still at rest from their last song. In an instant, Charlie froze in place, as did the others. There they were. Eyes stared back from the dark, large and lifeless. In illogical panic pulsed through her. Time held still. No one spoke. No one breathed, as though a predatory animal was stalking them. But as the moments passed, the fear waned until she was back again, as a child, and with old friends, separated from one another far too long. Charlie walked toward the eyes in a straight line. Behind her, the others were motionless. Hers were the only footsteps. As Charlie walked, she could touch the back of an old party chair without looking at it, guiding it out of her path. She took one final step, and the eyes in the dark became clear. It was them. Charlie smiled. "Hi," she whispered, too soft for the others to hear. Before her stood 3 animatronic animals. A bear, a rabbit, and a chicken, all standing as tall as adults, maybe taller. Their bodies were segmented like artist models, each limb made of distinct squarish pieces, separate at the joints. They belonged to the restaurant, or maybe the restaurant belonged to them, and there had been a time where everyone knew them by name. There was Bonnie, the rabbit. His fur was a bright blue, his squared-off muzzle held by a permanent smile, and his wide and chipped pink eyes were thick-lidded, giving him a perpetually worn-out expression. His ears stuck up straight, crinkling over at the top, and his large feet splayed out for balance. He held a red bass guitar, blue paws poised to play, and around his neck was a bow tie that matched the instrument's fiery color. Chica the chicken was a more bulky and had an apprehensive look, thick black eyebrows arching over her purple eyes and her beak slightly open, revealing teeth, as she held out a cupcake on a platter. The cupcake itself was somewhat disturbing, with eyes set into its pink frosting and teeth hanging over the cake, a single candle sticking out the top. I always expected the cupcake to jump off the plate. Carlton gave a half laugh and cautiously stepped up to Charlie's side. They seem taller than I remember, he added in a whisper. That's because you never got this close as a kid. Charlie smiled, at ease, and stepped closer. You were busy hiding under tables, Jessica said from behind them, still some distance away. Chica wore a bib around her neck with the words "Let's eat" set out in purple and yellow against a confetti-colored background. A tuft of feathers stuck up in the middle of her head. Standing between Bonnie and Chica was Freddy Fazbear himself, namesake of the restaurant. He was the most genial-looking of the 3, seeming at ease where he was. A robust, if lean, brown bear, he smiled down at an audience, holding a microphone in one paw, sporting a black bow tie and top hat. The only incongruity in his features was the color of his eyes, a bright blue that surely no bear had ever had before him. His mouth hung open, and his eyes were partially closed, as though he had been frozen in song. Carlton drew closer to the stage until his knees pressed against the rim of it. Hey, Freddy, he whispered. Long time no see. He reached out and grabbed at the microphone, wiggling it to see if he could get it loose. Don't! Charlie blurted, looking up into Freddy's fixed gaze as though making sure he hadn't noticed. Carlton pulled his hand back like he had touched something hot. Sorry. Come on, John said, cracking a smile. Don't you want to see the rest of the place? They spread out across the room, peering into corners and carefully trying doors, as though everything might be breakable to the touch. John went over to the small carousel, and Carlton disappeared into the dark arcade off the main room. I remember it being a lot brighter and noisier in here. Carlton smiled as though at home again, running his hands over the aging knobs and flat plastic buttons. I wonder if my high scores are still in there, he muttered to himself. To the left of the stage was a small hallway. Half hoping no one would notice where she had gone, Charlie started down it silently as the others occupied themselves with their own curiosities. At the end of the short, plain corridor was her father's office. It had been Charlie's favorite place in the restaurant. She liked to play with her friends in the main area, but she loved the singular privilege of coming back here when her father was doing paperwork. She paused outside the closed door, her hand poised over the knob, remembering. Most of the room was filled under his desk. His filing cabinets and smaller boxes of uninteresting parts. In one corner was a smaller filing cabinet painted a salmon color that Charlie had always insisted was pink. That had been Charlie's. The bottom drawer held toys and crayons, and the top had what she liked to call my paperwork. It was mostly coloring books and drawings, but occasionally she would go over to her father's desk and try to copy down whatever he was writing in a childish crayoned hand. Charlie tried the door, but it was locked. Better this way, she thought. The office was personal, and she did not really want it open tonight. Story time! Hang on. She headed back into the main dining room and found John looking pensively at the merry-go-round. He eyed her with curiosity, but did not ask where she had gone. I used to love this thing. Charlie smiled, approaching warmly. Yet now the painted figure seemed odd and lifeless to her. John made a face, as though he knew what she was thinking. Not the same, he said. He rubbed his hand over the top of a polished pony, as though to scratch it behind the ear. Just not the same, he repeated, removing his hand and gazing elsewhere. Charlie glanced over to see where the others were. In the arcade, she could see Jessica and Carlton wandering among the games. The consoles stood still and unlit, like massive tombstones, their screens blank. I never liked playing the games, Jessica said, smiling. They moved too fast, and just when I'd start to figure out what to do, I'd die and it would be someone else's turn. She wiggled a joystick that squeaked from neglect. They were rigged anyway, Carlton said with a wink. When's the last time you played one of these? Jessica asked, peering closely into one of the screens to see what... Sorry? An image was burned into it from many years of use. Carlton was busy rocking a pinball machine back and forth, trying to get a ball to come loose. There's a pizza place I visit sometimes. He set the table back on four legs carefully and glanced at Jessica. But it's no Freddy's, he added. John was roaming through the dining room again amid the tables, flicking the stars and spirals hanging overhead. He plucked a red party hat from the table, stretched the rubber band hanging loosely from its base, and snapped it around his head, red and white tassels hanging down over his face. Oh, let's check out the kitchen, he said. Charlie followed as he bounded off toward it. Although the kitchen had been off-limits to her friends, she'd spent a lot of the time there, so much so that the chefs chased her out by name, or at least by the name they heard her father call her, Charlotte. John overheard someone calling her Charlotte one day when they were in kindergarten, and persisted in teasing her with it constantly. He could always get a rise out of her with that. It wasn't that Charlie didn't like her full name, but Charlie was who she was to the world. Her father called her Charlotte, and it was like a secret between them, something no one else was allowed to share. The day she left Hurricane for good, the day they said goodbye, John had hesitated. Bye, Charlie, he said. In their cards, letters, and phone calls, he had never called her Charlotte again. She never asked why, and he never told her. He probably knows. The kitchen was still fully stocked with pots and pans, but it held little interest for Charlie in the midst of her memories. She headed back out into the open space of the dining room, and John followed. At the same time, Jessica and Carlton stumbled out of the arcade, tripping into each other as they stumbled through the thresholds between rooms in the dark. Anything interesting? John asked. A gum wrapper, 30 cents, and Jessica, so no, not really, Carlton said. Jessica playfully gave him a punch in the shoulder. Oh, have we all forgotten? Jessica gave an evil smile, pointing to another hallway on the opposite side of the dining room. She headed toward it swiftly before anyone could answer, and they followed her. The hallway was long and narrow, and the farther they went, the less the flashlight seemed to illuminate. At last, the passage opened out into a small room for private parties, set up with its own tables and chairs. As they entered, there was a collective hush. There, in front of them, was a small stage, the curtain drawn. A sign was strung across the front. Out of order, it read in neat, handwritten letters. They stood still for a minute, then Jessica went up to it and poked the sign. Pirate's Cove, she said. 10 years later, and it's still out of order. Don't touch it, Charlie thought. I had one birthday back here, John said. It was out of order then, too. He took hold of the edge of the curtain and rubbed the glittered fabric between his fingers. No, Charlie wanted to say again, but stopped. You're being silly, she chided herself. Do you think he's still back there? Jessica said playfully, threatening to make the reveal with one giant swing on the curtain. I'm sure he is. John gave a false smile, seeming uncomfortable for the first time. Yes, he's still there, Charlie thought. She stepped back cautiously, suddenly becoming aware of the drawings and posters surrounding them like spiders on the wall. Charlie's flashlight carefully inched from picture to picture, all depicting different variations of the same character. A large and energetic pirate fox with a patch over one eye and a hook for a hand, usually swinging in to deliver a pizza to the hungry children. This is the room where you were the one hiding under tables, Jessica said to Charlie, trying to laugh. But you're a big girl now, right? Jessica climbed up on the stage unsteadily, almost losing her footing. John reached out a hand to steady her as she righted herself. She giggled nervously, looking down at the others as though for guidance, then grabbed a hold of the tasseled edge of the fabric. She waved her other hand in front of her face as dust fell from the cloth. Maybe this isn't a good idea? She laughed, but there was an edge to her voice, like she really meant it, and she looked down at the stage for a moment as though poised to climb back down. Still, she didn't move, taking the edge of the curtain again. Wait, John said. Can you hear that? They were all dead quiet, and in the silence, Charlie could hear them all breathing. John's breaths were deliberate and calm, Jessica's quick and nervous. As she thought about it, her own breathing began to feel odd, like she had forgotten to do it. I don't hear anything, she said. Me neither, Jessica echoed. What is it? Music. It's coming from... He gestured back the way they had come. From the stage? Charlie cocked her head to the side. I don't hear it. It's like a music box, he said. Charlie and Jessica listened carefully, but their blank expressions didn't change. It stopped, I guess. John returned his gaze forward. Maybe it was an ice cream truck, Jessica whispered. Hey, that wouldn't be so bad right now. John appreciated the levity. Jessica turned her attention back to the curtain, but John began to hum a tune to himself. It reminded me of something, he mumbled. Okay, here I go, Jessica announced. She did not move. Charlie found her eyes drawn to Jessica's hand on the curtain, her pink manicured nails pale against the dark, glittery fabric. It was almost like the hushed moment in a theater crowd, when the lights went dark but the curtain had not yet risen. They were all still, all anticipating. But they were not watching a play, no longer playing a game. All the mirth had gone out of Jessica's face, her cheekbones stood out stark in the shadows, and her eyes looked grim as though the simple thing she was about to do might be of terrible consequence. As Jessica hesitated, Charlie realized her hand hurt. She was making a fist so tight her nails dug into her flesh, but she could not force her grip to loosen. A crash sounded from back the way they came, a cascading, clanging noise, ringing out and filling the whole space. John and Charlie froze, meeting each other's eyes in the sudden panic. Jessica dropped the curtain and leaped off the stage, bumping into Charlie and knocking the light out of her hands. Where's the way out? She exclaimed, and John came over to help. They hurriedly searched the walls, and Charlie chased the light beam spiraling across the floor. Just as they were all back to their feet, Carlton came trotting in. I knocked over a bunch of pots in the kitchen, he exclaimed, an apology amid the panic. I thought you were with us, Charlie said. I wanted to see if there's any food left, Carlton said, not making it clear if he'd found anything or not. Seriously? John laughed. That guard might have heard, Jessica said anxiously. We have to get out of here. They started for the door, and Jessica started running. The rest took off after her, picking up speed as they reached the hallway until they were racing as though something were behind them. Sorry, the door suddenly closed and it scared the shit out of me. Run! Run! John called out, and they all burst into giggles, the panic feigned, but the urgency real. They squeezed back through the door one by one and pushed it shut with the same painful squeal, Carlton and John leaning on it until it sealed. They all took hold of the shelf, hefting it back into place and replacing the tools so that it appeared undisturbed. Look good? Jessica said, and John tugged her arm, guiding her away. They made their way quickly, but carefully, back the way they came, using only Carlton's pen light, back through the empty hallways and open atrium to the parking lot. The guard's light did not appear again. A little anticlimactic, Carlton said with disappointment, checking back one more time in hopes they were being chased. Are you kidding? Charlie said as she went to her car, already pulling the keys free from her pocket. She felt as though something locked deep inside her had been disturbed, and she was not sure if that was a good thing or not. That was fun, John exclaimed, and Jessica laughed. That was terrifying, she cried. It could be both, Carlton said, grinning widely. Charlie began to laugh, and John joined in. What? Jessica said. Charlie shook her head, still laughing a little. It's just, we're all exactly the same as we were. I mean, we're totally different and older and everything, but we're the same. You and Carlton sound exactly like you did when we were 6. Right, Jessica said, rolling her eyes again, but John nodded. I know what you mean. And so does Jessica, she just doesn't like to admit it. He glanced back at them all. Is everybody sure that guard didn't see us? We can outrun him now, Carlton said reasonably, his hand resting on the car. I guess, John said, but he did not sound convinced. You haven't changed either, you know, Jessica said with a certain satisfaction. Stop looking for problems where there aren't any. Still, John said, glancing back again. We should get out of here. I don't want to push our luck. See you all tomorrow then? Jessica said as they parted ways. Carlton gave a little wave over his shoulder. Charlie's heart sank a little as Jessica settled herself into the passenger seat, tidily buckling herself in. She had not been looking forward to this. It wasn't that she didn't like Jessica, just that being alone with her was uncomfortable. She still wasn't much more than a stranger, yet Charlie was still exhilarated from the night's adventure, and the lingering adrenaline gave her a new confidence. She smiled at Jessica. After tonight, they suddenly had something very much in common. Do you know which way the hotel is? She asked, and Jessica nodded and reached for the purse down at her feet. It was small and black with a long strap, and on the drive to the construction site, Charlie had already seen her remove a lip gloss, a mirror, a pack of breath mints, a sewing kit, and a tiny hairbrush. Now she pulled out a small notebook and pen. Charlie smiled. Sorry, how much stuff do you have in that thing? She asked, and Jessica looked at her with a grin. The secrets of the purse must not be disclosed, she said playfully, and they both laughed. Jessica started reading Charlie the directions, and Charlie obeyed, turning left and right without paying much attention to her surroundings. Okay. Ugh. I think they're gonna have to spend 5 nights at Freddy's. Silver eyes. Jessica had already checked in, so they went straight to their room, a small beige box of a room with 2 double beds covered in shiny brown spreads. Charlie set her bags on the bed closest to the door, and Jessica went to the window. As you can see, I splurged on the room with a view, she said, and flung the curtains open dramatically to reveal 2 dumpsters and a dried-out hedge. I want to have my wedding here. Right, Charlie said, amused. Jessica's prim demeanor and fashion model looks made it easy to forget that she was smart as well. As a child, she remembered being slightly intimidated every time they got together to play before realizing after the first few minutes how much she liked Jessica. She wondered if it was hard for Jessica to make friends, looking the way she did, but it wasn't the kind of thing you could really ask someone. Jessica flopped down on the bed, lying across it to face Charlie. "So tell me about you," she said confidently, mocking a talk show host or someone's nosy mother. Charlie shrugged awkwardly, put on the spot. "What does that mean?" she said. Jessica laughed. "I don't know. What an awful thing to ask, right? I mean, how do you answer that? How about school? Any cute boys?" Charlie lay down across the bed, mimicking Jessica's position. "Cute boys? What are we, 12? "Well," Jessica said impatiently. "I don't know. Not really." Her class was too small. She had known most of the people in it since she had moved in with Aunt Jen, and dating anyone, liking them like that, seemed forced and altogether unappealing. She told Jessica as much. "Most of the girls, if they want to date, they date older guys," she said. "And you don't have an older guy?" Jessica teased. "Nah. I figured I'd wait around for our batch to grow up." "Right," Jessica burst out laughing before quickly thinking of something to share. "Last year, there was this guy Donnie. I was gaga for him, like really. He was so sweet to everyone. He wore all black all the time, and he had this black curly hair so thick all I could think about when I sat behind him was burying my face in it. I was so distracted I ended up with an A- in trig. He was super artistic, a poet, and he carried around one of those black leather notebooks, and he was always scribbling something in it, but he would never show anybody." She sighed dreamily. "I figured if I could get him to show me his poetry, I would really come to know his soul, you know?" "So did you ever?" Charlie said. "Oh, yeah," she said, nodding emphatically. "I asked him out, finally, because he was too shy and he was never going to ask me. And we went to the movies and made out a little. And then we went and hung out on the roof of his little apartment building. I told him all about how I want to go study ancient civilizations and go on archaeological digs and stuff. And he showed me his poems." "And did you come to know his soul?" Charlie said, excited to be included in Girl Talk, something she felt like she'd never really gotten to participate in before. Charlie nodded eagerly, but not too eagerly. She calmed herself as Jessica scooted forward on the bed to whisper. "The poems were awful. I didn't know it was possible to be both melodramatic and boring at the same time. I mean, like, just reading them made me feel embarrassed for him." She covered her face in her hands, and Charlie laughed. "What did you do?" "What could I do? I told him it wasn't going to work out, and I went home." "Wait, right after you read his poetry?" "I still had the notebook in my hand." "Oh no, Jessica, that's awful. You might have broken his heart." "I know, I felt so bad, but it was like the words just came out of my mouth. I couldn't stop myself." "Did he ever speak to you again?" "Oh yeah, he's perfectly nice. But now he takes statistics and economics and wears sweater vests." "You broke him!" Charlie threw a pillow at Jessica, who sat up and caught it. "I know, he'll probably be a millionaire stockbroker instead of a starving artist, and it's all my fault," she grinned. "Come on, he'll thank me someday." Charlie shook her head. "Do you really want to be an archaeologist?" "Yeah." "Huh. Sorry, I thought..." She shook her head. "Sorry, that is really cool." "You thought I'd want to do something in fashion." "Well, yeah." "It's okay. I did too. I mean, I do. I love fashion. But there's only so much to it, you know? I think it's amazing to think about how people lived 1,000 years ago, or 2,000, or 10. They were just like us, but so different. I like to imagine living in other times, other places, wonder who I could have been. Anyway, what about you?" Charlie rolled over onto her back, looking up at the ceiling. The tiles were made of loose, stained styrofoam, and the ones above her head were askew. "I hope there aren't any bugs up there," she thought. "I don't know," she said slowly. "I think it's really cool that you know who you want to be, but I have just never had that kind of plan." "Well, it's not like you have to figure it out now." "Maybe, but I don't know. You know what you want to do. John's known since he could hold a pencil that he wanted to be a writer, and he's already getting published. Even Carlton. I don't know what he has planned, but you can just see that there's a scheme brewing behind all his kidding around. But I just don't have that kind of direction." "It really doesn't matter. I don't think most people know at our age. Plus, I might change my mind or not get into college or something. You never know what's going to happen. Hey, I'm going to get changed. I want to get some sleep." She went into the bathroom, and Charlie stayed where she was, gazing at the sorry-looking ceiling. She supposed it was becoming a defect, her earnest refusal to consider the past or future. Live in the present moment, her Aunt Jen always said, and Charlie had taken it to heart. Don't dwell on the past. Don't worry about things that may never happen. In 8th grade, she had taken a shop class, vaguely hoping the mechanical work might spark something of her father's talent, might unleash some inherited passion lying latent within her. But it had not. She made a clumsy-looking birdhouse for the backyard. She never took another shop class, and the birdhouse only attracted one squirrel who promptly knocked it down. For the record, that was not me. I didn't do that. What's going on over here? Oh, I missed Mingo. Thank you for the lurk, Mingo. I hope you enjoy your food. No, listen, listen, listen. I did not do that. I didn't do that, okay? Jessica came out of the bathroom wearing pink striped pajamas, and Charlie went in to get ready for bed, changing and brushing her teeth hurriedly. When she came out again, Jessica was already under the covers with light by her bed turned off. Charlie turned hers off too, but the light from the parking lot still shone in from the window, somehow filtering past the dumpsters. Listen, listen, it wasn't me, but the squirrel that did it probably prevented her from making murder robots, so like... Yeah, I'm calling PETA. This is squirrel abuse. Thank you. Thank you for that quote. Stop accusing me for things I didn't do. But you know what? I kind of support the squirrel that did it. I'm not preventing her from making murder drones. I'm preventing her from making killer robots. There's a difference, I think. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Trust. Trust, okay? Well, why didn't you stop Edwin? Look, I can only stop one murderous robot builder, okay? Trust. Trust, okay? Just trust. It'll be okay. Charlie stared up at the ceiling again, her hands behind her head. Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? She asked. I don't really know, Jessica said. I know it's a ceremony at the school. Yeah, I know that. Are we going to have to do anything? Like, do they want us to speak? I don't think so. Why, do you want to say something? No, I was just wondering. Do you ever think about him? Sometimes. I try not to, Charlie said, half-truthfully. She had sealed off the subject of Michael in her mind, locked him tight behind a mental wall she never touched. It wasn't an effort to avoid the subject. In fact, it was an effort to think of him now. What about you? Not really. It's weird, right? Something happens and it's the worst thing you can ever imagine, and it's just burned into you at the time, like it's going to go on forever. And then the years go by, and it's just another thing that happened. Not like it's not important or terrible, but it's in the past, just as much as everything else, you know? I guess, Charlie said, but she did know. I just try not to think about those things. Me too. You know, I just went to a funeral last week? I'm sorry, Charlie said, sitting up. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I barely even knew him. He was just an old relative who lived 3 states away. I think I met him once, but I hardly remember it. We mostly went for my mom's sake, but it was an old-fashioned funeral parlor like in the movies with an open coffin. And we all walked by the coffin, and when it was my turn, I looked at him. And he could have been sleeping, you know? Just calm and restful, like people always say dead people look. There was nothing I could have pointed out that made me think dead, if you asked me. Every feature of his face looked the same as if he were alive. His skin was the same, his hair was the same as if he were alive. But he wasn't alive, and I just knew it. I would have known it immediately, even if he wasn't, you know, in a coffin. I know what you mean. There's something about them when they're... Charlie said softly. It sounds stupid when I say it, but when I looked at him, he looked so alive, and yet I knew, just knew that he wasn't. It made my skin crawl. That's the worst thing, isn't it? Things that act alive but aren't. What? I mean things that look alive but aren't, Charlie said quickly. We should get some sleep. Did you set the alarm? Yes. Good night. Night. Charlie knew sleep was still a long way off. She knew what Jessica meant, probably better than Jessica did. The artificial shine in eyes that followed you as you moved, just like a real person's would. The slight lurch of realistic animals who did not move the way a living thing should. The occasional programming glitch that made a robot appear to have done something new, creative. Her childhood had been filled with them. She had grown up in the strange gap between her life and not life. It had been her world. It had been her father's world. Charlie closed her eyes. What did that world do to him? I don't think... Wait, hang on. What the hell? Okay. This is the end of the chapter. Okay, so you stopped William Afton? I don't know, I just got here. Nah, William already has murder robots with child possession. If only William got therapy, there wouldn't be those kids missing. I don't think therapy would have helped, bro. The kids dying is just the canon event. You guys are fucked. How are we feeling so far, guys? You want to take a little break? A little break time? We have been reading for 2 hours now, so feeling whimsical after all that. I am gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna go grab a little thing to eat. Chaos, can I see the balls clip? Can you see the balls clip? If it comes up, I guess. Oh my god. Fine, I'll find the balls clip. There's 3 of them, though. All the balls, then said horse balls. Yes, horse balls, yeah, okay. Okay. Alright. Hang on, I'll pull it up. Oh my god, you guys. Alright. Here's the first one. Wait, hang on. Make sure you guys are able to hear it. Yeah, it's not. There we go. What did I just return to? I was gone for like 5 minutes. They're obsessed with the balls clip. They're obsessed with the reverb balls. I'm obsessed with the Barbie clip of it, but whatever. You go. Okay. Balls. Balls. That's enough. That's enough. I can't watch these. You're gonna have to go find them yourself. I need to go get a snack. I need to go eat something. I pulled them all up. I cannot do that. Alright, I'm gonna go, it's snack time. Snack time is break time. You can watch the balls clip. I think it's in the Discord. If it's not, it's on the Twitch page. I'm not pulling up the balls clip again. I don't want to watch it. Maybe it'll come up here. Alright, have fun, bye. We have Fox, baby! Am I gonna beat Catnap? It does feel like a dream come true, please.
Oh my god!
We need to appreciate
Charge
Center.
your parent. No. Oh, center.
I know! I have to charge it, dummy!
Wait.
Right?
Wait.
Did I?
Wait.
Oh.
What? Did you have to put your hand out? I thought it would just cutscene for you.
I hope this is coming through. There's no time to waste. Catnap is on his way.
Where are you?
The room you're in used to be a sort of panic room. It's not what it used to be. It can protect you. Learn how it works.
Please press. Why is the horse? Whatever. Oh my god. Oh my god! Motherfucker, are you serious right now? This is awful! Why the fuck did you do this? Stop! How the fuck? I don't even know if I should be mad or like just fucking impressed because it came out so good. Both, mostly. What the fuck? Yeah, the commitment to the bit, truly. Oh my god, okay, I can't. I'm getting war flashbacks. I can't. Sounds are so wild. Okay, let me see if I can get this to work now. Sounds so whiny. Okay, let's see. What do you mean high OBS, high squirrel?
If I remembered, I do it faster.
Infinite RAR when? Never, cause it... Woo! Yeah, send them to the square hole. Let's go. Are you okay, sir? No, wait. Oh, no, he's not.
Played that.
Hate that one.
I hate that one. I'm always like, one here. It's late.
To me. First off.
Wait, did you just die?
I did. Wait, hang on. Never mind. LID. Sorry. I'm sorry. I was gonna yell at you for telling me to freaking get rid of all my healing items. No.
Yeah.
We're okay. Rashugo, shush! Shugo. You're the worst French person I've ever encountered. Dave, I'm not approving your video.
Shugo, you're not the worst French person I've ever encountered, so...
Do you play Call of Duty with French people? Dave, I'm gonna get you.
Don't go in there! Don't go in there! Don't go in there!
Right,
He's
you're
the
right,
thing.
you're
They're
right.
going.
It's a
What
dead end!
are you doing?
Where do I go?
Oh! Not the dead end, and not where the guy is.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
I need both
It's a
of you to-
straight hallway, Squirrel. It's a straight hallway.
Okay, I'm gonna make the, Michael, don't leave me here! Michael! Michael! Help me! So
Like
true.
stone.
I was there when B was in the walls.
Shut up. I'm gonna
Yeah, and I
eat
remember
a
that I wanted
Popeye's
to.
biscuit. I'm gonna eat a
Yeah.
Popeye's biscuit with
I
no
know,
water.
I
I'm
know
gonna eat a
about
Popeye's
B
biscuit with water.
and Puppy Cat, and I wanna peg Deckard.
Bro. Bro.
Why are we bringing up past the? Why are we bringing up?
Getting their peppers.
Except for, like, Bubbly, who was like, no, I don't think you're going to, and I'm gonna get everyone's peppers. Oh! Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that was you.
Pepper now than never.
True. I'm saving my peppers for Fortnite.
Such a sentence.
I'm at 5.6K,
And the drone says to hydrate.
and we still need...
Jugo is being autistic right now in chat. Oh my god. Oh my god! Thank you! Holy shit. Chat scared me.
Dave DDS12 started a new hype train.
Thank you!
Okay. I want to go back to this fuck ass planet. Glad, can we even afford that? Oh god, what the fuck did you just buy?
Flashlight.
Okay,
Didn't you
damn.
literally die to fall damage in like the first 15 seconds?
Yeah, how do you die to the bridge, bro? Hey, turn the lights back on.
Where's the light switch? I can't see. I
someone
can't
move the
see.
fucking light
I can't
switch?
see.
Ren and Vine are Eclipse. Oh, guys, why don't we go to March?
I'll dream of Jax. Oh, I'm jaxing it. Oh. Pufferfish is... Why are you still paying attention to me?
I am more stressed watching drunk Mr. X play than I was
Drunk
trying to
Mr.
figure out the
X
power
is playing.
distribution system. It's
Hey,
a dead
chat,
end squirrel. We've
chat,
been there 1,000
chat,
times.
listen, do you guys hear this guy? Mr.
going
X
in
is drunk.
circles.
Your mother is going in circles. Stop trying to jump scare me!
Dave, shush.
Dave! My mother cannot handle
Why
this.
are you running like this?
This is so sad. What do you mean? This is
You're
so
running
sad. I just got
straight
back
into
to
the
this.
wall. Like
Oh
a
my
wall.
god, Raleigh! This fucking man from existing. Oh, thank you, Devin, for the resub. Also, hello. Hi, Devin. God, I want to kill that man. I want to kill him. Alright.
I don't want to go that way.
I don't want to go that way. Alright, we talked to everybody out here. We've done it. We've done it. Alright, let's go inside. Yes, we're open. That's genuine fucking anxiety. Who the fuck left? Who the fuck did that? That was not me. 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 That wasn't me. Who the fuck did that? Genuinely, I didn't do that. Genuinely, 100,000%. Hang on. Who the fuck did that? Cosmify me, motherfucker! Glad!
Why you
I didn't do anything! I didn't do anything! Nobody fucking come for me! Nobody come for me!
It was not
Please!
squirrel. It was not squirrel.
Please, thank you!
It was
I've
not.
been sitting on the floor! You guys can
Why
check
you
the
fucking
fucking
pull this shit
pod!
up?
That was glove.
Everyone point at Glad. Press 2. We're gonna all fucking point at him.
me.
Why
Where
you
the
pull
fuck
this
is
shit?
Glad? I'm
Why you
too
pull this
drunk!
shit? Why you pull this shit, bro?
Squirrel stream, okay? We're gonna.
Oh my god. What if I kill all of
Me
you
no
in 1
me.
second?
Me-
Hang on. Glad? You're done. Here. First off. Oh god. Hell. This is hell. What does this stream become? That was just one of the worst things I've ever said. Oh yeah, there's the safe. That's right. Okay. You say that's a bad way?
DVDs.
I hate that. Damn it. I mean, I guess you got back. I can't run. This is gonna take me 400 hours, dude.
Well, you can't heal now, so,
Oh.
Oh my god.
See you later, Daisy.
It's okay, we're okay.
Yeah, so many of these are Resident Evil. But I think it's because every single time for a while until I fixed it, I had a good snack.
This thing
I had
lasts
a
for
pancake.
so long, too.
I think it's because for a while I had it set so every single time somebody would send a sound
you.
alerts thing, it would automatically clip, which is why it shows that so many are clipped by me. A lot of them are not. They're like auto-clipped. But not anymore. I don't have that anymore.
I love that 3 separate people just redeemed this. Well, no, I was saying goodnight as in, like, have a good rest of your night because we're ending stream and I was getting off the call. Anyways, yeah. We're not doing Funky Town right now.
But, like, this one is also, like, auto-clip.
Oh my god, I'm
That's how
fucking it
tell
up so
from
bad
clip
trying to read
names.
you guys' messages.
A lizard on top of this.
Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Okay. I better duck. What is
Okay.
Not the Uno thing again.
Not the Uno thing again. Okay, me back. I'm trying to decide if I want to keep reading for now, or if I want to take a little break and do something calm, but like, you know, chill. You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm like reading chat a little bit now. A game, yeah, a game. Like a calm game, not like a. We could do Life is Strange if you guys want to do Life is Strange. What did I miss? Okay, yeah, Raleigh showed up. Butterduck, you just kept repeating that you want balls clips. DT did a little suspicious looking squirrel, the devious squirrel emote. LOL does something. Something about a hallway. What kind of balls? Red? What? Azuko wants to finish something, but I don't know what it was referring to. You've been dying to see more Life is Strange. We can do Life is Strange. We can go back to Life is Strange. And we'll finish the rest of this later. Oh, the RE2 hallway. Oh, Bee and Puppy Cat? Yee. Oh, because of the, yeah. Because of the one clip of Queso. Clown. Oh my god. Yeah, we can do Life is Strange. I let you guys make decisions still? Okay. Give me 1 sec. And I'll be back in just a minute then. And we'll set up Life is Strange. Sound good? Cool.
Playtime for me. Big fun. Huggy Wuggy, that's me. Me love you. What other ones can I do? Give me a treat. Brush me. Uh-oh. What else is there? It's dark. Me scared. Ah! 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 What? What? Ah! Who's there?
Oh my god. Why do people- Oh! Oh! I'm not a heart and a half anymore. Fine.
You're doing such a good job, Squirrel. I'm proud of you.
Oh my god!
I got a cup of oil.
Jesus Christ.
A cup of oil?
Dude, can I like have a sip?
Hi, DT. Thank you.
Wanchy 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 1002.
Bite me!